Thanks so much, Gareth. Now, South Africa's World Heritage Site, the Cradle of Humankind, may be much younger than initially thought. The site is believed to be about 4 million years old. But now investigations at Bald's Cave have unearthed new evidence that suggests it may not be that old. And this is according to a paper by Dr. Tara Edwards from UCT's Geological Sciences Department. Dr. Edwards, thanks so much for joining us. Maybe just to break it down, maybe looking at the Cradle of Humankind's significance. Why is this important, not only as a discipline that we should understand and the preservation thereof?
Good morning, and good morning to all of your viewers. Thank you for having me. So the Cradle of Humankind is really, really important as it contains most of the world's early human fossils. So early hominins, say our ancestors, we find most of our fossils right there in the cradle, so just outside of Johannesburg. So it's a super important site globally.
All right, and this particular discovery now, the paper that you've published, in that it is actually younger than what we have thought. What is the significance of this?
Okay, so just to be super clear, this is not rewriting the history of the entire cradle. This is just one specific site called Waypoint 160 from Bolt's Farm. So that's just about 500 meters from Rising Star Cave and about 1 kilometer from Stokefontein. So what we've done here is shown that this site, which was previously thought to be about 4.5 million years old, is actually only about, it's 2.2 to 1.7 million years old. So it's still a few million years old, but not as many as we thought.
Okay, but does it change the significance of it, or at least the recognition of the site, the antiquity? Does it bring it into question?
So it brings into question the antiquity of the cradle and kind of this narrative that there is great antiquity here, say sites of 4 or 5 million years old. There has been this story around that's kind of been pervasive. What we show in this paper and in a body of work spanning the last decade is that any site in the cradle where we use multiple lines of evidence to date them, there's no evidence for a site older than 3.2 million years old. So that's what we're showing. There's no real cause of great antiquity in the cradle. Everything we know is about, the maximum is about 3 million years.
Yes, but for the uninitiated and, for some of us that may be your frequent travelers or, that go to these heritage sites, just from a leisure perspective, I think as scholars, there's probably much more that you read into it. If you will, explain to us the research in itself, how it impacts not only the site or even, the recognition internationally of this particular site. Okay,
so let's just be really clear that the cradle is still a very, very important and very significant place globally and to South Africa. What we're talking about is one particular species that was used originally from Waypoint 160. It was a rat species, and that was used to date the site. And what we've gone to do is go back to that site and use some more scientific methods, multiple methods of dating, geochronological dating. And so we can say with certainty that the site is, not older than 2.2 million years. Does that mean it's still enjoyable to go and visit and a great place to take your family and the kids to learn about rocks and heritage and fossils? Of course it still is. It just, we can say scientifically it's not 4 million years old.
But is there a keen interest in understanding exactly not only the history, as you were saying, this is where our forebears and the fossils that predates our existence, so to speak?
Yes. I think there is a keen interest here, and I think that the more we can talk about this and get these messages out there about this is how science works, and especially, so I'm Australian, but I work with a team of South Africans, and it's really important to make sure that these skills aren't outsourced. You know, that's a big part of transformation at UCT, is making sure that African students, local students, people from South Africa are all given the chance to learn this information, connect with their heritage, and that these skills and the science, you know, it's kept in the country and it doesn't all go offshore and overseas.
And it's a very specialized area, as you're saying. I mean, just in terms of the uptake in career prospects, do you find that the transformation needle has shifted?
I mean, it's really hard for me to comment on that as, you know, a white Australian who has come to South Africa to do work. What I will say is that, you know, my PhD supervisor and co-author on this study, Dr. Robin Pickering, she is running, along with Dr. Rebecca Ackerman, Professor Rebecca Ackerman, the Human Evolution Research Institute. It's called HERI at the University of Cape Town. And this is all about changing the face of paleoanthropology in South Africa. So for the longest time, it's been predominantly run by white men, and it's about getting young Black women, trans folks, non-binary folks, changing the face of what this is and handing the science back to the people, making sure that, you know, it's possible for everyone who's interested in this to be involved.
And what are the options in terms of the prospectors that young, as you were saying, African women in particular, but young people in general can study in this field?
So I'm a geologist. We work with geologists, archaeologists, paleoanthropologists. It really depends kind of what your field of interest is, if it's the bones, if it's the rocks, if it's how the caves formed, how they changed. So there's a lot of different fields that, you know, young scientists could pursue. And there's always, if anyone's interested and would like to look at options for scholarships, you can go to the HERI website through UCT. There's always scholarships for especially probably master's and PhD students. If you're a young Black woman who wants to get involved, definitely go to the HERI website and check that out.
All right, really appreciate your time, Dr. Edwards. That is Dr. Tara Edwards, postdoctoral research fellow at UCT, speaking about the Cradle of Humankind with new evidence showing that the site is actually much younger than what we previously thought.